Today, I want to talk about something that is still just a rumor, and that is YouTube preparing for audio only podcasts? This information comes mainly from Pod News, who published an article on March 30th, and I will have the article linked down in the description. So, what is this all about? We have heard rumor like this before, especially around October last year when YouTube hired a podcast executive by the name Kai Chuck. But the article that was published by Podnews have some more specific information. According to Podnews, they were sent an 84-page presentation produced by YouTube, intended for podcast publishers. 3 of these 84 slides are the focus of the article, and they were called Looking Ahead. On those 3 slides, which you can see here, was shown what YouTube at the moment are thinking about audio-only podcast on the platform. They are talking about things like using existing RSS feed for podcasts. They are talking about creating a separate URL for their podcasts. And they have ideas about using the traditional square format for thumbnails, as we are used with when it comes to podcast. They are also talking about a new metric for audio first creators, which might indicate that they are going to use audio only ads and maybe create a system similar to the AdSense system for videos. There is still no official announcement from YouTube, but I myself have a few thoughts about this. I am a pretty new audio-only podcaster. I started my own podcast, which is called A Swedish Fika, back in September. Last year, I also created a video version of each episode and have a channel here on YouTube called A Swedish Fika. I would love, personally, if YouTube added audio only podcast to the platform, where I could use my RSS feed to publish here on YouTube. As I said, for the first months, I published both an audio and a video podcast. But for me, the video took way too much time. But I know that I have friends that preferred to listen to my podcast on YouTube and that didn't really care about the visual, just that it was available on YouTube. Today, I can't use my RSS feed if I want to upload my audio file to YouTube. I have to add some kind of imagery, whether it's photos or video. But that takes away a little bit of the charm with podcast. That is audio only. But I also have some worries when it comes to YouTube getting into the podcast area. Would they do what they have done to videos and just adding ads in the podcast without me having any control over it? And if they are going to have a system similar to the AdSense system where they share the revenue with the creators of the podcast, how would such a system look? To sum it up, it is way too early to say that YouTube will create an audio-only podcast section within the platform. And if they do, what would that mean for Google Podcast? From my point of view, I see most positive aspects of such a move. But now I want to hear from you. What do you think? Should YouTube add audio only podcast to its platforms? What would be the advantages and the disadvantages? And would you listen to an audio only podcast using your YouTube? Until next time, hej då!